He ruled the stage with a voice that shattered every boundary, yet heartbreak and scandal lurked behind the glitter. Hidden glimpses of his private world reveal the shocking trials and unexpected twists that forged Freddie Mercury's immortal legacy and left the world forever changed.
Do you have hobbies?
I have not. Yeah, a lot of sex. The kid wrote me a letter about that and said, I study demonology and satanic things. Why do they use Beelzebub? And I suppose that's a legitimate question.
Why do we use it?
Yeah.
It's just why do we use anything? It doesn't necessarily mean I study demonology and things. I just love the word Beelzebub.
Have you ever wondered what hidden secrets linger behind the soaring notes of rock's most theatrical frontman? Freddie Mercury captivated the world with his unmatched voice and daring stage persona. But there's so much more beneath the glitter and glory. From his unexpected childhood in Zanzibar to whispered rumors of troubled recording sessions with Michael Jackson, Freddie's life was a mosaic of triumph, heartbreak, controversy, and unbreakable spirit. Strap in for a journey that exposes the shadows behind the spotlight, reveals the real struggles that shaped an icon, and leaves you questioning just how much of Freddie's story has remained unseen.
Going back to the show, do you think it's more than a coincidence that sentiments like "we've got to build this world together" should come just when rock is showing politicians where they've actually failed?
Oh, darling, what kind of shit question is that you answering?
They called him flamboyant, untamed, and fearless on stage. Yet Freddie Mercury's earliest days were surprisingly modest. Born Farrokh Bulsara on the island of Zanzibar, he was raised in a conservative environment that hardly foreshadowed the outlandish showman he would become. His parents, devoted to Zoroastrian traditions, believed in discipline and structure, instilling in him a sense of responsibility that clashed with his later life of rock star excess. At a young age, he was sent to boarding school in India, where Western music, local influences, and his own restless imagination shaped him into an unstoppable creative force. It was there he formed his first band, an amateur group called the Hectics, that offered him the thrill of live performance. He could already taste the rush of the stage, even if it was just a school assembly, but that wasn't the whole story. When political unrest shook Zanzibar in the early 1960s, his family moved to England, abruptly thrusting him into a new world. The London music scene proved both intoxicating and challenging. No one knew then that this reserved, shy teen would soon reshape rock music. With few resources, he juggled odd jobs: airport baggage handler, market stall worker, while absorbing every bit of the era's rebellious energy. Yet something about him stood out. Even in those early days, people recalled how he carried himself with a quiet confidence, a spark that suggested he was destined for more than a mundane 9-to-5 existence. Freddie's ascent wasn't immediate. In fact, he faced repeated skepticism when he joined up with Brian May and Roger Taylor, who performed in a band called Smile. The mere idea of calling their new group Queen caused raised eyebrows. Some saw it as too bold, even provocative. Freddie insisted that boldness was precisely the point. He had a knack for forging fresh visions, even going so far as to design the band's now iconic crest, fusing the zodiac signs of all members. It was an emblem that signaled their eclectic unity, standing apart from the pack of other British rock outfits struggling to be heard. In the early 1970s, Queen's odd blend of heavy rock, layered harmonies, and Freddie's electrifying stage presence baffled music executives. There wasn't a neat category for their opera-infused rock or theatrical flourishes. Record labels weren't sure where these four dreamers belonged. But that same reluctance from the industry fueled Freddie's rebellious creativity. He refused to fit a mold. His vision was grand: guitars that roared like thunder, vocals that soared like an opera, and stage acts that felt like a fusion of cabaret and rock rebellion. Their self-titled debut album earned modest attention, but didn't set the world on fire. Then came a slow climb with each subsequent release, culminating in the dramatic turning point that was Bohemian Rhapsody. Upon its release, skeptics scoffed at a 6-minute rock opera spectacle with no defined chorus. It was simply too strange for mainstream radio. However, Freddie's gamble succeeded wildly, and Bohemian Rhapsody became a cultural phenomenon. Suddenly, Queen was more than a quirky band with a theatrical frontman. They were the future of rock, shining a spotlight on Freddie's once misunderstood genius. Yet, with fame came the swirling rumors, wild parties, friction among the band, and glimpses of personal turmoil. The controversies had only just begun. Transformations became Freddie's trademark. From the mid-70s onward, he steered Queen through daring phases, songs spanning gospel, disco, funk, and straight-up rock ballads, defying anyone who tried to lock them into a single genre.
Why haven't you done any interviews in the past few years?
Because I hate them.
Why?
I just hate them. I hate talking to people I don't really know. I don't talk to everybody, so they don't really know the real me. And I don't think anybody will.
Are you very, very rich?
I'm extremely rich.
Do you like being rich?
Of course.
What do you do with your
I
money?
flaunt it.
What do you do with your money?
I spend it.
One minute, they released a hard-driving anthem like We Will Rock You, and the next, they offered a dance-infused track like Another One Bites the Dust. Fans were never sure which style they'd hear next, and that unpredictability became the band's secret weapon. Yet the real drama sometimes played out beyond the music. The band's glitzy onstage chemistry masked tensions that simmered backstage. While no one outright walked away, rumor had it that disagreements over creative direction occasionally shook the group's foundation. Freddie's unstoppable drive to try new sounds, like the controversial incorporation of dance beats on the album Hot Space, sometimes clashed with the rock-oriented instincts of his bandmates. Critics panned the album's departure from heavy rock, but to Freddie, pushing boundaries mattered more than pleasing everyone. He thrived on the possibility of alienating a few fans if it meant blazing a new trail. This devil-may-care attitude carried over into private collaborations, including sessions with other music legends. One of the most dramatic rumored clashes involved Michael Jackson in the early 1980s. Both icons recognized each other's brilliance and started working on potential duets, but the partnership fizzled. Whispers pointed to Freddie's cocaine habit. Jackson, who prided himself on discipline and disliked recreational drugs in the studio, allegedly lost patience with Mercury's erratic behavior. Some say that was the final straw. The tracks they began were left unfinished for years, fueling speculation about just how chaotic those recording sessions had become. But that wasn't all. Behind the glamour, a quieter storm was brewing in Freddie's personal life, one that would ultimately reveal his vulnerabilities and transform him into a champion for something much bigger than rock music.
I used to learn things about our relationship through interviews that he did, mainly for David Wigg at The Express.
Of course, the public perception of Freddie was that he was gay, and not many people knew that he had this very deep love for Mary Austin. It was an extraordinary relationship which became like brother and sister, where it started off as lovers.
Offstage, Freddie Mercury was sometimes reclusive, sometimes the life of the party, and always private. His love life reflected that complexity. The world was slow to realize that the woman he once called his common-law wife, Mary Austin, remained a cornerstone in his life, even after he revealed his bisexuality. They had formed a bond in the late 60s, sharing a deep connection forged by trust and mutual respect.
It took a long while for me to really fall in love with this man. But once there, I could never turn away from him. His pain became my pain. His joy became my joy.
The only person that he felt comfortable with, really truly comfortable, was Mary, who was, I think, the truest love of his life.
I was able to look inside and almost another human being. And what I saw was a treasure trove of beauty. And I think that he also did that to a few million people outside too. And that's why I think the fans continue to feel the way they feel about him. It's that they saw that beauty, they saw the fun, they saw all the aspects of Freddie's personality, and they too fell in love with him.
I still love you.
When Freddie acknowledged that his attractions went beyond a single gender, their romantic relationship shifted, but their emotional bond remained unbreakable. Mary was there for him in ways most fans never realized, managing affairs, keeping his secrets, and eventually carrying out his most personal wishes after his death. In the 1980s, Freddie entered a serious relationship with Jim Hutton, an Irish hairdresser who was more of a rock for him than anyone outside his tight circle really knew. While Freddie dazzled the world with stadium-shaking performances, he savored domestic serenity with Jim behind the scenes. The difference between Freddie's public persona and his private longing for peaceful companionship underscored the duality of his life. Yet for all his success, there were struggles he kept under wraps, including substance use that soared amidst the never-ending cycle of touring, partying, and coping with the pressures of global fame. This indulgent lifestyle included late-night gatherings where cocaine flowed freely. Colleagues and fellow musicians privately recalled how erratic he could be, oscillating between bursts of manic energy and moments of deep introspection. To those on the outside, it just looked like a rock star living it up. Inside his circle, it was obvious that the pace was taking its toll on his relationships, mental health, and creative process. Still, few people dared question the unstoppable Freddie Mercury. He burned brightly, and no one wanted to stand in the way of that brilliance until it started dimming. Speculation grew louder by the late 1980s, when tabloids and fans noticed a marked change in Freddie's appearance. No longer the robust showman bounding across stages with sheer abandon, he became noticeably thinner. The press made a spectacle of capturing unflattering paparazzi shots and churning out rumor after rumor that Freddie was gravely ill. He chose silence over confrontation, neither confirming nor denying the swirling talk of a life-threatening condition. Those who loved him respected that decision, knowing it was a fight he wanted to handle in his own way. Privately, he was grappling with AIDS, a disease so misunderstood and stigmatized at the time that many suffered alone. In a world where LGBTQ+ individuals often face discrimination and shaming, his wish for discretion felt like an act of self-preservation. Even as his health waned, he refused to let the disease define him. He continued recording, pouring the last of his energy into songs that would appear on Innuendo and later compilations. The final studio recordings captured a voice still defiant in the face, demanding answers. Despite mounting evidence of his diminishing strength, he declined interview requests and shrank from public appearances. The speculation reached fever pitch, with fans torn between heartbreak and hope. But that wasn't the whole story. Freddie wasn't just battling a disease, he was challenging the cruel narratives that came with it. Even in secrecy, his stoic resolve shone as a final testament to the fearless spirit he'd always embodied. Freddie's final days took place in Garden Lodge, his Kensington home that once served as the backdrop for lavish celebrations. Now, it felt like a peaceful haven where he could reflect on a life lived at full throttle. Surrounded by close friends, Jim Hutton and Mary Austin, he spent these last chapters in quiet contemplation. The flamboyant rock god slipped into a more introspective role, finding solace in smaller joys. He talked to his beloved cats, played gentle piano melodies, and made decisions about his final legacy down to the smallest details. At one point, he chose to stop most of his medications, a personal step to face the end on his own terms. Dignity and autonomy were crucial to him. Even as his body weakened, his mind remained sharp and his comedic spark flickered every so often. This contrast between failing health and a vibrant spirit is perhaps best captured in the final photograph taken of him, snapped by Jim Hutton in the summer of 1991. Though visibly frail, he stood in the garden with quiet grace, still exuding the elusive charisma that had entranced the world. On November 23, 1991, knowing his time was nearly up, he released a statement confirming he had AIDS. The very next day, he was gone. The global shock was immense. People who barely knew Queen's discography felt the weight of losing such an extraordinary artist, a man who had electrified Wembley Stadium and left no doubt that rock music could be as grandiose and boundary-shattering as an opera. For those closer to the LGBTQ+ community, his passing represented both a devastating loss and a galvanizing moment, drawing wider awareness to the epidemic ravaging countless lives. It was as if Freddie, with one final act, ensured that his death would not be simply a tragedy, but a catalyst for compassion and conversation. And what happened next would reshape his impact far beyond music. The Mercury Phoenix Trust emerged to fund AIDS research and education worldwide. The Freddie Mercury tribute concert, held in April 1992, became a historic event, bringing together superstars from every corner of the industry to celebrate his life on a global stage. It wasn't just a musical farewell. It felt like a cultural reckoning that shattered lingering stigmas, sparking empathy and driving home the message that AIDS could strike anyone, even a legend. In the years since, Freddie's place in pop culture has only grown. Younger generations discover Bohemian Rhapsody and are captivated by its bizarrely perfect fusion of opera and rock. Aspiring artists study his stage presence, how one man could dominate a massive stadium with a single microphone and a seemingly effortless vocal range. But perhaps his boldest legacy is the freedom he personified, the right to be unapologetically oneself, even when every norm says otherwise. Whether it's his choice of flamboyant outfits in the 70s, his mustachioed shift in the 80s, or his decision to keep his medical battles private, he showed that true artistry thrives on authenticity. Today, references to Freddie Mercury crop up in fashion runways, film soundtracks, and tribute tours. The biopic Bohemian Rhapsody introduced him to millions who were barely born when Queen sold out stadiums, proving that his story transcends time. But it's more than just a film or a greatest hits album. It's the raw, unfiltered essence of a man who dared to be larger than life and refused to be boxed in by the prejudices of his day. His mistakes were many. Substance-fueled binges, countless broken hearts, conflicts sparked by ambition. But they painted the portrait of a man who lived with fierce intensity. If anything, the stumbles made him more endearing, revealing his vulnerabilities beneath that towering stage persona. From falling out with Michael Jackson to heartbreaks behind closed doors, these episodes only reinforce the sense that greatness often coexists with deep personal shadows. In that complexity, Freddie Mercury remains a figure people relate to, admire, and continue to analyze. And yet, for all the stories of flamboyance, addictions, and shattered friendships, what truly resonates is the unwavering passion he poured into every recording and performance. Even on his final tracks, you can hear a voice fighting to triumph over mortal limitations. He didn't want pity for his illness, nor did he seek forgiveness for living a life on his own terms. He simply continued creating until there was no breath left to sing. That ultimate devotion to his art remains the most striking testament to his memory. Freddie Mercury may no longer be here to mesmerize crowds with his staggering vocals, but his essence endures in every note that dares to blend genres, in every performer who strides on stage with fearless flamboyance, and in every fan who finds solace in the universal power of music. His story reminds us that behind the brightest spotlights lie hidden battles, and that a person's authenticity, no matter how unconventional, can spark waves of inspiration for decades to come. So the next time you hear the opening piano of Bohemian Rhapsody, or chant along with We Will Rock You, remember the intricate life behind those anthems. Recall the countless rumors, the controversies that threatened to overshadow him, and the unbreakable spirit that allowed him to stand tall in the face of every storm. Freddie's greatest performance wasn't just confined to a stage, it was how he lived, daring the world to see him as he was, refusing to let anything, even disease or scandal, silence the music in his heart. His legend endures as proof that true originality might be messy, provocative, and at times heartbreaking, but it remains the kind of magic that keeps the world singing long after the final curtain falls. As we close the curtain on Freddie's unforgettable journey, remember that every legend hides layers of secrets and surprises. If his story left you craving more, hit subscribe, leave your thoughts below, and stay tuned. There's always another astonishing chapter waiting to be uncovered.
To quote the London Daily Mirror, most rock groups can boast of one or two clever blokes. In Queen, they're all clever. Queen is one of England's new and most exciting rock groups. Can you tell us what Queen is all about?
It's basically a rock and roll band with lots of harmonies, lots of everything.
Can you safely stay in one place? Can you stay in one bag today and be safe?
No, we're not. That's one of the things that I think people can't put us into is one category. We've got so many sort of, there's a lot of ingredients that make up Queen, and you can't put your finger on it, really. It's one of the most difficult questions to start off with, really.
Is this the future, where rock is going to? Are you predicting something? I seem to be looking 20 years from now when I watch your work, Fred.
It's not quite true. I mean, I think what every album that's ever come out of Queen, we come out with a batch of songs, and we really pick the best. And if I have songs that I feel are better than somebody else's. If I have 5 songs that are better than one of Roger's songs, I'll say we won't have his one song. Like I remember that Roger actually wrote about 3 or 4 songs, and as far as I was concerned, some of them weren't good enough, and I just said go back and write some more, and things like that. So I mean, but some, then Roger will come up with something like Radio Gaga, and it's perfect. It's wonderful, and then I do encourage them. So I mean, I'm not trying to hog a Queen album in any way. But I mean, in a funny way, that makes them write better songs, I don't like to write message songs because I'm not sort of politically orientated. I'm not like a John Lennon or a Stevie Wonder. I just feel that my songs are just basically commercial love songs, and I like to put my emotional talents into that. I don't want to change the world. I don't want to talk about peace or any kind of sort of political content, because I just don't feel I'm motivated that way. You have to be motivated that way. I mean, it's all right for me to sit here and just say, okay, or get up in the morning and say, I want to write a peace song. That wouldn't be right, because I mean, those kind of things you have to actually believe in. And I'm not saying that I don't believe in peace. I just don't feel that I don't personally feel I'm capable of writing peace messages and things like that, because I'm not in that sort of, in that environment. I don't want to put myself in that environment. I'm into basically writing songs about what I feel about. And basically what I feel very strongly about is love and emotion. And I think my solo album is filled with that in various different attitudes and ways. And that's about as far as I want to go. But I'm not a John Lennon who will sort of go and sleep and will actually act out his actual emotions, apart from writing songs, peace for the world or whatever, and sleep in bags for I don't know how long, to actually go through that, because I'm not that way. And for me to actually go and write a peace message would be wrong, because I think it would be, people wouldn't relate, because suddenly they would say, Freddie Mercury suddenly wants to write about peace. You have to sort of have a very sort of strong upbringing and a long sort of, you have to go through a certain amount of history of actually allowing people to accept the fact that, look, he does believe in what he's writing about. And as far as I'm concerned, I hope people believe in the fact that I do go through torture and pain in terms of love and whatever. And that's all I want to write about. It comes easy for me, and I I think that's my natural gift. So that's all I want to do.